Everybody, I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly radio show called Encouragement for Your Life. Most of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach, and I like to say I help people find their voice and learn to use it. If you're part of a national organization or an association that has conferences, I hope you'll toss my name into the speaker file and see if somebody would contact me at debsofield.com. I'd love to be a part of your team. Many of you know I've got a number of books on the market: Speak Without Fear, Perfecting Your Platform, Encouragement for Your Life. You can go to Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, and all my books will appear. 2 of them are on Audible. The rest you can all find on Kindle. I love doing this show because I want to be the voice that reminds you, friends, you're enough, and that you can live the life you were born to live by learning a few simple rules. I've got a great one for my theme today, and it's this, by Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. I'm Deb Sofield. Thanks for spending this next half hour with me. Let's get started with today's show. I'm working with a terrific young man who will be given the valedictorian address at high school coming up here in a few months. It's been fun to hear him reminisce about his early days in high school when he, as he would say, "Miss Deb, I just didn't care," to realizing one day that he was just a few points behind the smartest guy at the school, and knowing that with a little work, he could overtake him because, as he said, no one knew he was that smart since he didn't show it and since school was boring to him. Well, much to the chagrin of the faculty, my guy is the one who's going to be on the stage. No doubt he did some silly things when he was in the 9th and 10th grade. Honestly, it was all I could do not to laugh at his antics. But somewhere along the way, he read this quote from Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And it changed his life. Why? Because he realized that failure is not fatal. It's just a learning curve you've got to drive through at some point in your life. He also came to realize that the most important skill he could develop was the simple, yet hard, determination to have the courage to continue. Even when all the teachers were, as he said, not too impressed with him. Frankly, many are not that happy to have him on the stage now. But the grade point average doesn't lie, and he's the one who made it to the top. I'm not going to let him say anything unkind about his teachers that he didn't care for, nor am I going to let him be a smart aleck. What I am going to do is push him to be bigger than life to those who were sitting in his audience thinking that they're never going to get out of their small town. In fact, I'm going to have him remind the hundreds of other kids that, unlike what so many people say about them, about life, it's simply this. Friend, you don't need to find a purpose. You need to choose one. And that's my second thought for today. Along with the quote from Winston Churchill, friends, many of you listening today need to consider the truth that you don't need to find a purpose. You need to choose one and get going. I work with a lot of people who waste a whole lot of time looking for their, quote, purpose in life. But it will lead many down a dead-end road if they're not careful. People write books about it. Preachers preach sermons about it. And TV talk show doctors will drone on about it for hours on end. But the truth is hard. And frankly, most people don't want to hear it. Looking and looking and looking seems like fun. It seems like you're working until you get to the end of your life and you realize you were looking at it all along. But in your quest for something more exciting, more daring, more impressive in your eyes, you miss the opportunity staring you in the face. Now, to be fair, occasionally you will find your purpose by being in the right place at the right time. But I have to say, I believe that is a very small portion of the world audience. Because most people who are successful choose a purpose and then commit themselves to it for the long haul. And that is why they're successful today. My young client and I have had the conversation that people will often tell you that a single success can cause you to be, quote, set for life. Or a single mistake can ruin you for life. But come on, that's not true. And any thinking person will come to understand that it's rare when you win the lottery of life and are set for life. Or it's rare that you make such a big mistake that it will haunt you for the rest of your life. Now, no doubt, TV has told us about both types of people. And you may know one or two who have lived this out in real time. But the fact is that life is ever changing. And your job is to find your place and purpose and thrive where you're planted. When I say thrive where you're planted, I mean that you need to find a level of comfort in believing that where you are right now is where you are to be at this moment in life. Either to learn a lesson that you will carry for life, or to learn that you will never repeat this lesson in your lifetime. For some listening, where you are is not a good place right now. It's okay to admit it. That's the first step in finding the light. But now, what can you do to move up or out? No one's going to do it for you. Unfortunately, you have to be strong enough to make the change. Remember, it is the courage to continue that counts. And when I say continue, it's not staying in the same old place doing the same old thing that gets you the same old dismal experience that you're working through right now. No, it's moving away from a situation, whatever that looks like for you. The courage to continue is the courage to make changes in your life, big and small, but change for the better, for your purpose, for your amazing life. And just an aside, for those of you who are people of faith, please hear me when I say, don't blame God for the mistakes you've made. Put some sweat to your prayers and feet to your mission, and do what you're called to do, understanding that your journey of faith is most likely not easy, but necessary for the perfecting of your faith. I want to return to the statement that many people seem to hope for, and that's a single success can cause you to be set for life, or the false belief that a single mistake can ruin you for life. My theme this past few sessions is to say yes to opportunity that comes your way, however big or small, and I want you to remember the quote I used from Sir Richard Branson. If someone offers you an amazing opportunity, but you're not sure you can do it, say yes, and then learn how to do it later. My thought last week was that opportunity is everywhere if you just know where to look. And I believe that with all my heart and soul, because I see it every day for people who are willing to work and be bold enough to say yes, and then figure out a way to make things happen. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Ben Carson. And he said then that opportunity is everywhere, and it's the low-hanging fruit that is yours for the taking if you don't buy into the false belief that a single mistake can ruin you for life. If you know his life story, you have to admit it's pretty impressive. Some good, some bad. When he was young, he actually stabbed a young person. He punched out another kid over a locker disagreement, and it left a 3-inch gash in his forehead. He even went after his own mother, but thank goodness his brother stepped in. You know, for most people, those actions would be the tie that binds them to their past, but not Dr. Carson. He found forgiveness and grace and became a different person. And with that new belief in himself, he overcame the mistakes of his past. I know in political circles, they talk about his behavior to hurt him, but the fact still stands that he is considered one of the most famous neurosurgeons in the world. Dr. Carson was wise enough to know that mistakes of your past do not, will not, cannot demean your future if you understand that success is not final, failure is not fatal. Our friend, it's the courage to continue that counts. And he and his brother did not buy into the false belief that a mistake can ruin you for life. Friends, please hear me today. A failure is not fatal. Yes, it hurts, and it may feel like the end. But if you got up today and are breathing, it's not the end. In fact, if you let it, it could be the beginning of a new day, a new year, a new life for you. Have to admit, I've always been touched by Dr. Carson's personal story. And I guess it's because I see so many young men and women of all races who have bought into the lie that a failure is final. And it makes me want to yell from the mountaintop that it's not. It's a lie. And don't believe it. It's a lie to stop you from living your best life ever. It's a lie to hold you down in your mind from doing your best work and being your best self. It's a lie that's passed down from generation to generation that we, whoever we are, cannot do what others do. It's a lie that needs to be exposed for what it is. Unfortunately, for many, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy to keep you where you are, in the same place, with no vision of your amazing future. Our friend, the saying that has survived for the ages is true, and that is, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And let me remind you that many of you don't need to find a purpose. Our friend, you just need to choose one and get going. Because I believe you are made for more than what you're doing today. Why? Because as I say all the time, there's 8 billion people in the world, and thank goodness there's no one else like you, so you can step into the light and shine. I'm Deb Sofield. This is Encouragement for Your Life. Stay tuned. I'm going to come right back after the break. Hi, I'm Deb Sofield. If you or someone you know is interviewing for law school, medical school, dental school, veterinary school, scholarships, college, or a job, call me. You need to be prepared for the interview. Most interviews have a standard set of questions that you must know the answer to. You need a coach and I can help. I have years of experience coaching for all types of interviews. I'd like to be on your team. I'd like to be your coach. Contact me through my website, debsofield.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to Encouragement for Your Life. I came across a really good article by Karen Nemo, and the headline is, "To Live a Life of Courage, Do These 6 Things." I like it, so I want to share it with you today. She says this: there are a million paths that you can take in life. It doesn't matter which one you choose, because it's not the path you choose that makes the difference. It's the way you travel it. Living a life of courage is not about signing up for extreme sports, scaling the world's toughest mountains, or slashing through the dense and scary jungle. It's about taking what you've got and making the most of it. It's about getting to the end of your life with a smile on your face, knowing you've got the best value from your ticket. People often present at therapy saying they want to deal with their anxiety. Fair call. But often, a better approach is to help them tap into the courage to do whatever they're afraid of doing to make bolder choices. True, life doesn't make it easy. There are many lessons and reasons why we don't end up achieving our dreams. Life's twists and turns, external forces, circumstances, the people and distractions we meet along the way. And that's okay, because a lot of that is beyond our control. And the dream we once had may not be suited to the person we became. Whatever path you take, your job is to shore up your internal resources, your approach, your attitude, and your courage, and have them help you play the biggest game you have in you. Friend, if you want to live a life of courage, here are some steps you ought to consider taking. So the author says, let's do these 6 things. The secret to happiness is freedom. And the secret to freedom is courage. Number 1, play in the big arena. We all have fears and worries. You can choose to act in spite of them, or you can be a prisoner to them, shutting down your life in order to keep them at bay. The trouble is, shying away from fear doesn't make it go away. It turns it into a lion. When you deliberately choose to play in the big arena, you set yourself up for a more expansive life. It means every time you face a challenge or test, you already know you're going to play big. It's just a matter of deciding how. Number 2, don't deny your fears. Eyeball them. Get specific with your fears. Know exactly what they are. Leaving a miserable relationship or finding your voice within it? asking a boss for a raise, asking someone on a date, making a wedding speech, leaving a safe 9-to-5 job to start a new business or project? When you cower away from your fear or live in denial of them, they'll become bigger in your mind. So identify them, say them out loud, write them down. In acknowledging your fear and squaring up to them, you'll take the sting out of them. And then you'll know precisely what you have to work on. Number 3, walk forward on unsteady feet. Courage is not about striding through life, brimming with confidence, knowing exactly where you're going. It's not about banishing fear from your mind, your heart, and your language. It's often about stepping forward on unsteady feet, about not knowing where you're going and not being sure of the outcome, but understanding that only by letting go of certainty, you can fully come alive. Number 4, don't go low or make up when you do. We all have some low moments. We do things we're not proud of. We all have times when we would like to turn back the clock on our bad behavior. But don't intentionally go low. Don't try to bring others down. Don't insult others. Don't play tit for tat when they criticize you. Try not to do things you know you will regret, especially if it involves hurting others. When you do, atone for it or apologize as quickly as you can. No matter what comes at you, be an adult and walk the high road. Number 5, be a flawed hero to someone. I like this one. It goes on to say, I've worked with many people who've shielded away from the idea of being a role model. I get it. It's a responsibility. And a lot of us are scared to bare our flaws to the world or to the trolls online. But we are all role models, particularly if you're a parent, teacher, coach, manager, you work with young people. Trust me, they're watching, even if they pretend they're not. You and I should strive to be the kind of person we would want to watch and copy. Now listen, you don't have to be perfect, but think about what you're modeling and then offer the best you've got. For goodness sakes, people, not the worst that you have. Number 6, be a hero to yourself. Living with courage means to speak up when you know something's wrong. It means taking and making a stand for yourself and what you believe in. And at the end of the day, there's only one person who will cast judgment on who you were and how you lived. That's the person who matters. The only person you can't afford to disappoint. And you know who that is, don't you? Right, you. Here's the truth. Life is unpredictable. There are many reasons we don't do in life what we set out to do or become who we thought we would, and that's okay, as long as we play the long game and don't allow fear to hold us back. Have to say, I like that article. I thought it was worthwhile to share with you because the fact is, friends, you and I, sometimes we've got to just push through and live with courage. Another way to live with courage is to really focus on what your purpose is in life. I came across this article by Tony Robbins. Many of you know he's a famous, very famous speaker. And actually, I was watching this past week. He did an online 5 days of Tony Robbins Unleashed. And I gotta say, it was amazing. But his article really captured me because he says, so many people say, well, what's my purpose? And how do I find my purpose in life? And so Tony Robbins says this, it's a question as old as time. What's my purpose in life? As far back as the 4th century BC, Aristotle was pondering life's purpose and developing his theories, or simply the fact that everything in life has a purpose. In today's fast-paced, technology-filled world, where we really are pulled in many directions at once, sometimes having the courage to find your purpose, well, friend, it's probably more important than ever. Tony Robbins says many people spend their lives reacting to situations instead of being proactive and having the courage to figure out the needs and then having the values that drive them. Even when they think they know their purpose, so many folks mistake it for a short-term goal. Many others who are asking themselves this question truly want to find meaning, but they don't know how to create or have the courage to find their purpose in life. So he asks, why are you seeking the purpose of life? Tony says, if you're not growing, you're dying, which is why growth is addictive to so many of us. We naturally only feel fulfilled when we're improving ourselves or our lives in some way. Everything in life is calling us to grow when we have the courage to step into the light. When we stop growing, we start feeling pain, fear, and anxiety. And those are the times when we become susceptible to what he calls envy, as we look around and see what everyone else has that we don't. Instead of asking, what's my purpose in life, we start coveting status, material goods, and power. But the fact is, you and I know that leaves you empty. A lot of people like to say, well, I have the courage to achieve my goals, like buying a house or opening a business. And that does yield a sense of achievement, and it's essential to living the life you desire. But purpose takes those goals to a higher level. At a date with destiny, Tony tells everyone in the room, I'll tell you right now, there's one word that will give you happiness. One. You'll remember it as long as you live, and that word is progress. Progress equals happiness. Achieving goals doesn't really achieve happiness or equal happiness. So if you're asking yourself, what's my purpose? What you're really asking for is progress, a sense of true fulfillment. And fulfillment isn't a luxury or a leisure activity. Friends, it's necessary. He goes on to say there are two things that keep most people from finding their purpose. Tony Robbins says you might think there are many things that prevent people from finding their true purpose. They're comfortable where they are and they really don't want to rock the boat. They have it all, so it seems. Money, family, house. And they're fooling themselves into thinking they're fulfilled. Or maybe they just don't have time. The truth is, there are only two things that prevent you from answering the question, what is my purpose, if you have the courage to do this honestly. Number one, certainty. The need for stability and predictability is one of our deepest human needs. Routines help us conserve mental energy, and staying in our comfort zones can keep us from feeling anxious and getting hurt, emotionally and physically. But it also prevents growth. It keeps us in unfulfilling jobs and unhealthy relationships. It prevents us from finding our purpose. The other one is limiting beliefs. It's the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Those stories, if we have the courage to be honest, we can understand what holds us back and what propels us forward. Limiting beliefs that we're not good enough, we don't deserve to be happy, well, that leads to limiting behavior, like the fear of failure and self-sabotage. Believing that we have no limits in life gives us the confidence to find our purpose. And as Tony Robbins says, we can change our lives. We can do, have, and be exactly what we wish. Believe that, and purpose will follow. But again, we go back to the idea of courage. It's the courage to continue in the face of it all that will give you what you need. Let me go back to my quote for the day. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. But friend, it is the courage to continue that counts. And when I think about that, let me continue on with some of these articles. People say, well, Deb, how do you find it? Well, I do believe you've got to search inward. When people say, I don't know how to find my purpose in life and I want to be happy, well, I got to say, don't underestimate your ability to figure it out. Friend, you've got to be in control of your emotions so you can be in control of your life. I think if you put purpose before your goals, you will set yourself up for success. When you set a goal, you kind of say to yourself, well, how do I get to it? But then again, you pass your goal or surpass it, and then you're still thinking to yourself, well, what's next? Well, friend, have the courage to make a plan and follow it through. Tony Robbins says, if you'll focus on what you want, developing an abundance mindset, it's like opening your eyes to life. You'll see beauty and goodness all around you. And with this perspective, you will have the courage to do and be what you were born to be. Also, take ownership of your life. True fulfillment comes from designing your life. That's how you unlock the extraordinary. To find your purpose, you've got to have the courage to follow and do what is right. And then have the courage to do what brings you joy. It's so interesting. So many other people try to blow out your candle. Friends, I'm going to tell you, don't let it happen. Have the courage to find new friends, a new network, a new group of people who will encourage you so you can live the life you've always wanted to live. I believe that's so important, and I think too many times we live in that gray twilight because we think something will just happen. Friends, it doesn't work that way. But here's what I do know, and I'm going to say the quote for today. Winston Churchill was right. For those of you who are doing well, good, continue. For those of you that are struggling, friends, you can get through it because it's the courage to continue that counts. I'm Deb Sofield. This is Encouragement for Your Life. Thanks for joining me this Saturday, and I hope you'll join me next week, same time, same place. Have a good one, everybody.